Hey y'all, this is Whitney, and welcome back to an episode of Spastic Chatter. If you're new here, Spastic Chatter is a platform meant to feature those in the Cerebral Palsy community. And I get together with individuals with CP, like myself, to have an uncensored chat, if you will, about what it's like living with this type of disability. And with me for this episode, I have Melissa, Caleb, and Tanner, and they are wanted to talk about this awesome Facebook group, support group that they have started, and I agree that it's very cool. I'm a member of it. I've been a member for quite some time, and I've posted Spastic Chatter episodes in there when I first started. So I will let them introduce themselves, and then we will start the conversation. So take it away, whoever wants to start.
All right. So, like Whitney said, my name is Caleb. I started the group, and we'll kind of go into like how the group started and things. But I did bring my friends here with me, so I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Melissa, and I am the co-founder of the North American Association of Cerebral Palsy Advocates.
Hi, my name is Tanner, and I'm officially a board member of this group. And I'm from Illinois, and I joined this group about a year ago. So,
all right. So let me kind of go into what you said. You had no questions, so we'll just kind of start with how the group started. So it started 2 years ago. In April of 2020, I was sitting in my apartment, and I was like, much like Whitney when she started this podcast, was like, there are a lot of different resources out there for young people and children with cerebral palsy, but there's nothing out there really for adults. So I was just kind of going around. I had no plan for this group whatsoever. So I met Melissa through a separate Facebook group, and we became friends. And I was like, I have this really random idea. Like, let's just start a support group where we get together every week, every couple of weeks, and just talk about what it's like to be someone with cerebral palsy here in the world. And like, once you age out of that 18 to 21 bracket, and you're kind of forgotten about by pediatrics, like, where do we go and where do we turn? So I'm going to turn it over to Melissa so she can go further into that.
One of the things that the group focuses on is sort of community and the fact that we are not alone. Our group is currently at 96 members, and we've pretty much become a family. I have heard feedback from numerous people saying, wow, it's so nice to know that I'm not alone. We try to do different topics at our meetings, different activities at our meetings, and we let people know that we understand, especially those aging out of the pediatric system, the struggles that they're going to face. And we try to help them and support them to get what they need and to feel less alone.
and to that point, like Melissa said, we tried to be the community where people who are aged out of the system, if you will, can come to and express, hey, I have this going on. Have you guys seen this before? Or just to be that sounding board for them to talk to somebody who they may not know, because if I'm being honest, I didn't know hardly anybody with CP before this group, and so it truly is like a family to me. And so we try to provide that to our members as well, as just to feel like they can come to us and discuss things that are on their mind, and we can have a little bit of fun as well.
That's very cool. I I have a question. You're talking, you brought up your meetings. Like, can you talk about like how many times you meet and like, is it just virtual? Is it in person? Like, can you go into detail about like your specific meetings?
Yeah. So with that, we meet every Tuesday now. We just changed our meeting schedule. We meet every Tuesday. We meet over Zoom. None of us are in the same area. I think there's a couple of us from the St. Louis area. So I'm from the Missouri side of the St. Louis area. Tanner's from the Illinois side of the St. Louis area. And then we have another member in the St. Louis area. But we're kind of all over the place, kind of spread out. But we meet for about an hour and 15 minutes. And anything that anybody, like Tanner said, anything that comes up, like, hey, I'm dealing with this week, or have you guys seen this, or what is it like to move? We have a couple members that are just getting into college, so we're kind of focusing on like what resources are out there to help you get through those degree programs and really make you a successful person and part of this society. So Melissa and I didn't meet in person when we started this. It was all over Zoom. And so do you have anything to add about that, guys? Because that's pretty much what I have on our meetings.
Well, like Caleb said, we used to do it not as frequently, but we have found that every Tuesday works great. We try to come up with some ideas of things we might want to talk about in meeting, but we let the meetings kind of go where they will. If somebody has a concern or an issue they want to bring up, we definitely will talk about that. We've talked about numerous topics, like Caleb said, everything from college to relationships to moving. So we really talk about a wide variety of topics.
That's very cool. And I just keep thinking about how cerebral palsy is so diverse. Like they like it's like on a spectrum. So it's cool that your group brings everyone together and like in one space, because with Spastic Chatter, I'm usually interviewing somebody one-on-one. So there's not that immediate connection. But like when you bring people into a quote unquote room together, so that they can form those friendships and connections, relationships, that's very cool. And I feel like a lot of your members like will get so much out of your group just by hearing you talk about your meetings and things like that.
Yeah, and part of the reason why we wanted to come on to the podcast today was because we really are kind of tucked away in a corner of Facebook. We brought Tanner on to help kind of build a website, and so it'd be easier to find us. But right now it's really word of mouth and like posting in different Facebook groups and things. But I'm really thankful that you allowed us to come here and talk about this and kind of have a platform to share what we're doing. So it really just started out as a COVID thing, and I was like, I really want to try this, and I've dedicated a lot of my time to doing this, and I've wanted to give up, and Melissa kept telling me, well, you can't give up, because now we have people that are actually coming to these meetings and really getting something out of it.
Isn't that funny how that's kind of like how the entrepreneurship spirit kind of works? Like you kind of like when you're starting at ground zero, you have those moments where you kind of like doubt yourself, and then like you always need like that. I always say I thrive off of validation, so like I kind of like need that hype person to hype me up, like to keep going. But what you just said kind of like I got another question in mind. So what is your what does your future look like for your group? Like, what are some goals that you all want to achieve? Like what I'm kind of thinking about in my head is, if y'all are ever interested, like, in like virtual events, like to like what are some future goals for the group?
We talk about this all the time, and Mel, you can kind of go into this a little bit more, but we do want to eventually, kind of when COVID passes and we can get, we're running fundraisers now through, we're selling t-shirts and cups and things like that, so that we can start saving money so we can do a little bit more virtual events, and then eventually an event in person. But I'm going to let Mel kind of field that question to a little bit more.
One of our goals is to get more people involved in the group. As with all groups, they're, our members, but they're not necessarily super active. So we're trying to come up with things to engage a lot of the members, and that's starting to work. So we're really excited about that. But we want to grow. We want to be able to help people and create like a camaraderie, so that yes, they can be friends outside of the group, and who knows, maybe people will start hanging out or whatever. But our goal is just to grow and support as many people as we possibly can.
Awesome. I kind of hate to admit that I'm one of those members that was active when I first started, and then like I kind of got busy and I have not been very active. But
well, now that things are easing up, people are have more ability to get out and do things. So we get that.
Yeah. But after this conversation, I will try my best to be more active. Is there any like certain kind of like topic that y'all want to discuss, like related to CP, that's like prominent to your group? Have you found like a common theme or amongst your members, if that makes sense?
I'll field this because it comes back to this a lot. A lot of what we've been talking about recently is kind of filling that gap of, we now are here, we're adults now, and being treated like adults, not only in our personal lives, but our professional lives, and as well as the medical situation. It's like, because a lot of the time when you go out with your friends that are able-bodied, they tend to, speak to everyone else that's in the room, and you're kind of like there. And I don't know how to better word that. And maybe Tanner or Melissa has a better way to phrase that, but it's really kind of bringing that human aspect of cerebral palsy back to the person, making it very interpersonal, to say we are people, we have we have relationships, we have goals, we have dreams, and being able to help kind of this inherently able-bodied world understand that we are much more than just our diagnosis. So,
well, and I agree with that, Caleb. What I would say is we want to be seen as people too, and so if we can help other people with CP do that, then I feel like we hit our goal there. Because some people with CP may not go, I'm just a person in a wheelchair, person with CP that can walk, but we want to let them be seen as people instead of people with a disability. So,
And another thing we're trying to do is help people to become self-advocates into the community. So if they're in a situation where their friends are being asked what they want and not the individual with CP, to be able to speak up to them for themselves and to be able to educate the non-disabled world.
Exactly.
To help them understand that we have the same hopes, dreams, wants as anybody else. And the chair or the walker or the braces or whatever does not define who we are.
And again, this is my perspective. I'm I totally respect others' perspectives, but I feel like your group could also help people come to terms with like being disabled and proud. Like because I shied away from my disability until I was like in my mid-20s. Like I did not want to be considered disabled, and I had to come to a realization that my disability is not going anywhere, and acting like I wanted to be seen as less disabled as I could, like, but there's like I had shame in my disability, and I had to like stop and like think like I'm at a loss for words. But now now in my early 30s, I'm disabled and proud. Like I find power in being disabled and being an advocate for the disabled to feel the same way that I do and not feel shame because they're disabled, if that makes sense at all. Like,
Yeah. And Whitney, you do bring up a good point. It's like a lot of people, when you do have cerebral palsy, you get that why me question a lot. Like, why is this me? And what I think we want to do is say, one, you're not alone. Two, we're going to say, you know, the wheelchair, the walker, the braces, whatever you use to help you get around is just that. You're proud of being able to be independent, and you're proud to say, I am a person with cerebral palsy, and this is my truth, for lack of a better term. And if we can help one person do that, I think we've done our job. And just my background in education, really, I don't want to be an inspiration for the able-bodied world necessarily, but I do want to help young people that are going through the same things that I did at 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, be able to say, if these people can do it, why can't I? And I think that's really what it's about. And I've tried, and one of the things we've tried to do is kind of bring parents of younger children with cerebral palsy in and say, the diagnosis is not the end. We're going to be proud of who we are as people, and that cerebral palsy is a big part of that. But it's not going to fully define it, and we're not going to also shy away from it.
No, and we want to be able to tell the parents and stuff that yes, your kid may have cerebral palsy, but they will be okay, and there is resources out there that you can use to get through it and be able to be a full functioning adult like all of us are. So I feel like that's one of our main points of the group too.
yeah, that's very cool. Towards the end of my interviews, I always ask the person that I'm interviewing if they have any advice for those watching. But since I'm having a chat with 3 people, I'm curious, what kind of advice would you have for someone that's just joining your group or that's unsure about support groups? Like, what does having support mean to each of you, and what can your group potentially give new members? I would say the name of I keep saying your
No.
group, but because I don't want to get tongue tied.
No, you're fine.
Yeah.
You're fine. We get tongue-tied. It's the North American Association of Cerebral Palsy Advocates, and we need to find a better name. But that's another story.
Does anyone want to get started with with the question I asked?
Yeah. So, Mel, I guess you can go first.
I think one of the things that I would tell new people or try to get them into the group would be, again, they're not alone. Like, for me, that's a big deal, and I've heard a lot of people say that they appreciate that. But just, again, to let them know that just because you have a diagnosis, the sky is the limit. You can do just about anything anybody else can do. You may have to do it a little differently, but you can still do it.
I would agree with that too. Like, I would tell anybody coming into the group that we joke around that we are a family, but it does feel like that we're not alone in this world of disability and cerebral palsy. And so if we can help others realize that they can come to our group and be a part of it, I feel like we've accomplished something.
Yeah, and I guess my answer to that question, Whitney, is for our new members and anyone who's listening to this and might want to become a member. And Whitney, I'll send you all the information so you can put it in the description or however you want to do that. And it would be come in with an open mind, and you get out of it what you put into it. Yes, at first it might be a little overwhelming and it might be a little craziness. There's typically 7 to 9 of us in there at a time. So, but really, again, understanding that you can define who you are within the parameters of cerebral palsy. And when I wrote, so I had to write, when we started up, I wrote kind of our group constitution, which is we want to support, we want to create a community, and we want to advocate. And those are the 3 things that we really look to do. And within that, at the end, I've always said, let's redefine the term disability by what we can do. And yeah, we're going to do it a little differently, but we're going to take pride in being able to play the cards we're dealt. So if you come in with an open mind and you're wanting to learn and you're wanting to meet new people, I think this is the group for you. So
very cool. I enjoyed talking to you 3 today and learning more about your group. Like Caleb said, I will get all the information and put it in the description below in case any of you watching want to join the group. And if any of you are watching and want to be interviewed on Spastic Chatter, I would love to have anyone and everyone. So just comment wherever you see this video. And like I said, it was a pleasure talking to you all today, and I will make sure you check back for another episode. Thanks. Bye.